This is the BBC.
Simon Mayo, 88 to 91 FM, BBC Radio 2.
Hello and welcome. Yes, thank you for downloading another Confessions podcast from your friends at Radio 2, where we have jingles as cool as this.
88, 91 FM.
That's vibe, eh?
BBC Radio 2.
That's what we are. And I can also offer you this as a special bonus. This is line-up tone, okay? This is very nerdy.
Stereo line-up tone at minus 3 dBs per leg or minus 21 dBFS.
There you go. And because we've taken notice of that, that means this quality audio is pristine and beautiful. Thank you so much. Anyway, it's a Confessions podcast. So here we go with everyone seeking a little bit of forgiveness from our lovely juggernauts of justice. They were still waiting for Bobby's T-shirt on that front. This, if you see what I'm saying. This week's Concise Collection features Behind Closed Doors. That's the university workout one. I Am the Passenger, A Year of the Cat, and Mum is Too Tight to Mention. Very good. Here they all come. Father Simon and the Collective. This story takes place a few years ago during my second year of university when I was studying anthropology in a small Welsh town which will go unnamed. I'd been offered a room in a house share with 3 good friends, and after some hassle we were finally able to move into a flat in the perfect location. It was close to the local shops and a stone's throw from campus. I could literally walk to my lectures in my pyjamas and then back to bed if I so wanted. I can neither confirm nor deny that this was the case on several occasions. In other words, Miriam, you definitely did. However, with the new house also came a couple whom we did not know, even though they were both students at the relatively small campus. At first, we were 3 friends. My 3 friends and I were all delighted at how easygoing and friendly our new housemates were. They were a bit quiet and kept themselves to themselves, but they also chatted with us occasionally and didn't mind when we were noisy. For a few weeks, everything was perfect, and life went on in the small Welsh town the way it always had for many thousands. All right, okay,
Yes,
slightly overwritten
okay.
at this point, just make a note of that. Cut to the chase.
Yeah.
However, around Reading Week in November, no one has ever read anything in Reading Week,
Yeah.
we noticed things began to get a little strange. Small things at first. Plates would go missing. Cheese disappeared from the fridge. Which, whilst annoying, we ignored it at first because we're British. That kind of thing. This is a standard tale so far from a standard student dwelling. Another few weeks passed and the missing plates had yet to be discovered. Cutlery was becoming scarce. Entire packets of tea disappeared. And when someone continuously began deadlocking the front door, we knew something wasn't quite right. At the time, I'd volunteered as a student nighttime support officer, so getting home at 3 a.m. in the morning to a deadlocked house was not appreciated. We suspected that our new housemates, whom I shall refer to as Sarah and Ben, were the culprits, as I'd seen on occasion some of my missing bowls being carried out of their room and then being hidden under the sink. They remained unwashed for weeks. When confronted, they denied it, so without disturbing the house peace, there was nothing much that we could do, we thought. To make matters worse, I lived in the room next to Sarah and Ben, and every night they would engage in rather loud physical exercise.
Okay.
They were
Yeah.
obviously getting super fit because
Yes.
the racket of sit-ups and press-ups and
Okay.
clean and jerk
Yep.
led to many sleepless nights on my behalf. It certainly made me realise how little exercise I was getting.
Get to the gym!
That's right. That's right. Get to the
gym.
Quite
Simple.
right. That's what I was thinking.
Very, very
as well.
straightforward.
Yes.
One afternoon, I was in the kitchen getting ready for a lecture when the doorbell rang and an elderly gentleman presented himself as Ben's father. He asked if his son was in the house, which I knew he was because only minutes earlier
Yeah.
I'd heard the beginnings of one of these keep fit sessions
Good,
getting
good.
underway.
Yes.
A light bulb went off in my head and I saw my opportunity. I remembered those missing plates and the bad saxophone music at night and the rude behaviour. And it was at this point I said to Ben's father, yeah, upstairs. He said you can just go right in. His father heads up the stairs And not more than 1 minute later, I hear an embarrassed shriek from upstairs and then feet coming down as fast as his slightly elderly legs would take him. When Ben's father walked back down the hallway, he had a look of horror on his face. And as he shuffled past, he whispered, "I'll be back later." I can only imagine they weren't using an exercise mat or something like that.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I never did see Ben's dad again. Ben and Sarah seemed to back off the keep fit exercises when I was at home anyway. And my third year, I'd moved out into a flat of my own with all my cutlery intact. So, Father Simon, I don't seek forgiveness from Ben and Sarah, who quite frankly deserve what was coming, but for Ben's father, who became a witness to some impromptu workouts which no parent wishes to see. Miriam sends in our confession, first one for the week. What do you say, Sister Bobby Pryor?
Well, you see, the thing is when you take other people's stuff and don't bring it back, it's really annoying. And really, by then, you should be a grown-up and you should do your washing up and you should put it back. So for that count as well, they're guilty of. But the other thing, all that keep fit is just showing off, really. So basically, you're forgiven for doing what you had to do and just basically...
Okay.
Yeah, you're forgiven. Definitely, because they took all your bowls and plates and they were
That's
genuinely
right.
inconsiderate for the rest of the house.
If you want to keep fit, go to the gym. There is a place for that. There's a time and a place, and the gym
Yeah.
would be a far better
So
place.
you're forgiven to do what anybody else would have done.
Okay.
Correct.
Brother Matthew.
Isn't it always the case in student houses where there is a couple who are having lots of fitness, and it's really not fair on everyone else who's not perhaps getting to the gym as much as they'd like.
Membership is quite
yes, it
expensive
is a
these
very
days.
a very exclusive club, and can't get in, and there they are.
Work that metaphor, Matt. Work it.
So, but there are only two ways, I think, to deal with people who are stealing your plates, and that is either to do what Miriam has done there and embarrass them about it. The other is what I would tend to do, which is a lot of passive aggression and pettiness. I am the king of pettiness, and therefore that's what I. So I'm going to forgive because you went down a wholly legitimate route, and how dare they be keeping fit quite so much when you're not able to keep fit. So yes, I'm going to forgive.
Father Simon the Collective, I have carried this secret since the late 80s, I would guess, and recently realised I need to get it off my chest publicly. I found myself telling it to someone for literally the first time, and that is what has made me write this to you. It's late 86, possibly early 87. I'm at university in Scotland. That's as specific as I'm going to be. Anyone who knows me now will not believe this, but I was really, really, really shy back then. The fact that it looked as though I was unsmiling, awkward, unfriendly, and very possibly in a permanent bad mood was just the unfortunate side effect of being seriously very shy. So when I got on the bus from Victoria Station in London for the interminable journey to Stirling, I was sending out every signal of unapproachability. Knowing what I'm like now, I totally understand why the man I'm going to call Bus Guy decided to press me for a conversation anyway. Despite my 1980s crippling shyness, I am now a social bulldozer, willing to stripe up a conversation with anyone and everybody. If only I'd been like that then for Bus Guy. He was friendly, forward, and I now believe, after fantasizing him into a legend in my own mind, really, really genuinely nice. Probably even gorgeous and heroic, I suspect. Bus Guy got on at a later stop, and I remember my peace being disturbed by this jaunty young man slipping into the seat next to me with what I thought at the time was far too much exuberance. Can't you go and sit somewhere else? Go and be exuberant over there, Bus Guy. He should have done what I was doing, I thought, studiously ignoring everybody and trying to concentrate on reading my book. Can't you improve yourself? He was auburn-haired, slim and athletic-looking, and wearing an Aran jumper. He had a lovely Scottish accent. I can imagine him presenting Desert Island Discs for Radio 4. Retrospectively adorable Bus Guy introduced himself and made social overtures that I resolutely rejected, although he did manage to at least prize my name out of me. When this incessant social nicety stuff was disturbed by the bus pulling into a service station, I was somewhat relieved, and I chose not to stretch my legs away from the bus as he did. This is because I was absolutely terrified of getting left behind, and,
Yeah.
and would have, at that particular time in my life, held on for the loo for 10 hours rather than risk it.
Yeah.
20 minutes later, almost all of the other passengers had returned, and the driver stood at the front of the bus and asked if everyone was on. He clearly expected a certain level of social responsibility from his passengers, even the socially awkward ones. You've guessed by now, I'm sure, what I was grappling with at this moment. Bus guy had not returned. Mr. Friendly, Sir Sociable, the grown-up in the two-seat configuration of which I was the immature, painfully shy other half, was nowhere to be seen. And as he was not in the seat, I was, of course, immediately raised a hand and said with clarity and volume, "No, there's a guy missing from the seat next to me, yeah." The driver waited a couple of minutes, and we were then able to leave with the full complement, while Bus Guy and I shared a laugh, talked for hours and got to know each other, then went on to get married and live happily ever after.
Okay.
Bobby is shaking her head. Matt is shaking his head. Jane continues, "No, wait, my mistake. None of that happened. You see, Father Simon, when the driver inquired if we were all on, I was silent. I didn't actually say that simple sentence that would have saved 20 years of secret shame. The words formed in my mind, but my lungs, larynx and mouth wouldn't cooperate. I tried to speak, but I couldn't. My throat closed and my tongue swelled to 3 times its usual size. I was shy, as I've mentioned. The bus pulled away, and I think I hunkered down in my seat, suffused with horror and shame. I probably tried to convince myself that Bus Guy had chosen another seat in this really full bus, or had chatted to someone in a queue and decided to get to know them instead. And perhaps I would have got away with it, were it not for the fact that what Bus Guy in fact did was hitch a ride with a truck, which then flagged down the bus so that we pulled over and he got back on the coach.
What?
What followed were the most powerful 2 words ever uttered by one person who has been horribly let down by another. He got into the seat beside me and said, "Thanks, Jane." The words probably look innocuous enough, but try and imagine the tone in his voice. And it just says, "Thanks, Jane" here, but obviously
Yeah.
he would have said it with a certain degree of hurt, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Anger, possibly. Revenge. If you and the collective do not forgive me, then can I at least hope that there is some chance that Bus Guy is out there listening and now laughs, gets in touch via Radio 2 and drops me a quick email to say I'm forgiven. Then all I need to do is some voluntary work at a tortoise sanctuary and I'll be in the clear. Actually, that makes no sense at all, but that relates to that relates to a story about a tortoise which was taken out from the original. Anyway, there was a humorous story about a tortoise which was clearly deemed unacceptable as a throwaway line.
Brilliant.
But take it from me, Jane had a tortoise confession which she just tossed
Live
clever.
editing on the show.
But anyway,
Well done.
but she's still going to do some voluntary work anyway. So maybe Bus Guy, Bus Guy strikes me as a really nice kind of bloke, and how that's pretty hardcore actually to flag down, to get into a lorry which then flags down the coach so that he can reboard his coach back to Stirling. So what do we say, Sister Bobby, to that one?
Well, normally I would say unforgiven because it's really not fair to leave someone stranded. However, the thing is, Jane, is you are or were painfully shy. I imagine actually you're still a little bit shy, even if you find to cover it, and you think you're a social bulldozer, but you know that means you can fake it. But the greatest thing I was thinking before I knew that he'd flagged down a lorry, I was thinking, hang on a second, this guy's got it together. He's going to be okay. He's going to be able to find a way. And he did, so that's fine. And, of course, he was a little bit disappointed in you, but he didn't know how crippling, painfully shy you are. There was no malice in it. So what I'm saying is, unfortunate event, but you didn't mean any harm. It wasn't that you intended to leave him
that's
stranded.
true.
And actually, what I noticed is you actually really liked him because you noticed every single physical feature. So secretly, you did like him.
Yeah, she's fantasised about him ever since, I think.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but she's noticed him. That's all I was going to say. So I think
had a
actually, in
lovely
this
accent.
case, because
Yeah.
you were shy and you've confessed and you'll go and do community service with the tortoises, then you're forgiven this time.
He was gorgeous. He had an Aran sweater, lovely Scottish accent, athletic.
Ugh.
Anyway, but
Is it? Is it just me, or has everyone else had quite enough of Mr. Aaron Sweater, Mr. Slim and Athletic? Bus guy had everything coming to him. The bus driver quite clearly said, we're going to be here for 20 minutes. But no, bus guy thinks rules don't apply to me because I'm so slim and athletic and wearing my Aaron Sweater. I don't need to be back by the bus by 20 minutes. I'm just going to spend half an hour wandering around a motorway service station because they'll leave when I'm ready. Well, guess what, bus guy? Turns out the rules do apply to you. And if he'd come on to the bus sat next to me with his 2 words of thanks, Jane, get a watch, and don't bother me with your petty, I'm going to do what I want, rules don't apply. So, frankly, you're better off without him. So I am definitely going to forgive.
So it's kind of bus guy's
Yeah, it
own
is.
fault.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm swanning around. Look at me choosing the pick and mix. I don't care when the bus leaves. It'll leave when I want to leave. No, it won't, pal. You're getting in a bus. You're getting on a coach. You're getting in a van, and you're going to have to flag it down.
And he probably intimidated the lorry driver.
Yeah, he probably did, didn't he, with his Aaron Sweater?
Father Simon and the Juggernauts of Justice. Here we are, all gathered again. This confession... Eh? What? Have you not got one?
Yeah, I have.
You got a T-shirt?
No, I haven't got a T-shirt.
Matt, sort that out.
I should be sorting that out.
We can't have one Juggernaut
There's
of
no
Justice,
point,
can we?
is there? No.
This confession dates back almost 38 years to when I was just 17. From a very young age, I had always wanted a kitten. And for many years, I had pestered and pestered my parents, but to no avail. Finally, I decided I'd been a good enough daughter to have earned my right to have a kitten. After all, my parents were both cat lovers. It was just that they always had their reasons, their excuses, to justify not having a cat. Oh, too much responsibility. What will we do with it when we go on holiday? What about the busy main road we live on? Yeah, whatever. Well, I had had enough. These were just pathetic excuses, and they'd been going on for too long. I wasn't going to put up with it anymore. After school one day, I decided I would visit a pet shop and choose a little fluffy black and white cutie to complete our family. And that's exactly what I did. £5.50 worse off. Off I went with her in my cardboard pet carrier. Different times. You could do that then.
What, go to pet shops?
And buy a cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I had, in my cardboard pet carrier, a tiny black and white ball of fluff. It's beautiful. No one was home when I returned from the pet shop, which I knew would be the case. So I let her out of the box, then headed off up the garden to the incinerator with the empty cat box, before you get worried, and a box of matches to destroy the evidence of the cardboard carrier. Okay?
Yep.
Now, we all know it's all going to be fine.
When the rest of the family got home, they were greeted by me and the cute kitty with the words, "Look what I found in the garden, Mum and Dad, hiding under the hedge, all scared and wet. She must have got lost. What are we going to do? Mum and Dad, what are we going to... What, really? Look, what are we going to do?"
Yeah.
After much discussion, it was decided that I should knock on the doors of all our neighbours
Yes.
and do
quite
my
right.
very best to
Yes.
find the owner. OK, I'll do that. Yes, that's fair enough. This is my Betty voice, by the way. I spent the next 4 hours knocking on at least 60 doors, asking, "Have you lost a little black and white kitten? Is this it?" Funnily enough, no one had. That's because she was mine. £5.50 bargain. So she stayed for the night. And then some posters went up on lampposts with our phone number, but still no response. My mum had already decided that she'd been disorientated by the storm that we'd had the night before that I found her. And as days went by, everyone started to fall in love with her, and she became ours. This is a super smart trick, I have to say, Betty. However, a few months later, she got hit by a car in a busy road. This busy road, which my parents had already mentioned many times as the reason. And the injury to her leg was bad. There was no such thing as pet insurance in those days, so the only two options were the needle or a £1,000 operation to save the leg. This is 1979.
Goodness
That
me.
is one heck of a bill.
Yeah.
But so in love were we with the kitty by this time that the needle was only contemplated by my dad. The bill payer. Different times.
Needle. Yeah.
No debate. But he was quickly outnumbered by the rest of us, so the checkbook came out and the operation went ahead. It was a success. She made a full recovery. Hurrah. As we realised the aforementioned busy road was not a place for a cat to live, parents had been right all along, it was decided that we had better move house. And the house went up for sale. Mum and Dad found a lovely place in a quiet street where no harm would ever come to our little cat. This was all fine and dandy, but by this time I'd moved out and gone to university, never to return home. I didn't care. So I couldn't take care of this costly cat that I got into our home under completely false pretenses. However, my costly deception played on my mind for years and years. The lie, the deceit and the consequences. £1,000 bill and the house sale and the relocation. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore and I decided to confess. But amazingly, my mum just didn't believe a word of it. Her perfect daughter could not possibly have done something like that. It just didn't cut the mustard. So over the years, I've been reassuring myself that I did a good thing by bringing up a beautiful cat and bringing it into the family, who lived to be 15 years old and gave my mum lots of love and happiness for all those years. But still the guilt remains. Therefore, I need you and your forgiveness, Father Simon and the Juggernauts, because I'm definitely not going to get it from my mum, who refuses to believe I ever committed the sin in the first place. But Betty's mum, she did. And that cat did not just wander in after the storm. She bought it for £5.50, and the £1,000 bill and the house move and all that all stems from that ultimate deception of your child. Blame the parents, maybe. So you can see how these things escalate, Sister Bobby. I don't know where you're going to stand on this one.
Well, the thing is, it seems to be like a win-win-win-win-win situation, because although...
Apart from the bill payer.
Well, yes, but you see, that's it. The animal need it. And let's face it, what else were you going to spend your money on? Holidays, new car, maybe pay the
all
bills. But the thing is, there's nothing more important than fixing the animal, is it? If you can afford it.
Yeah,
I know
well,
it's
paying
difficult.
the bills, I would think.
The
Food, holiday,
Well,
new
the
car.
other thing is they moved house, which is probably a good thing, because a house on a busy road is never a really good seller, is it? So it's probably good that they've moved on. So I think she did a good thing. I can't see
But they could have
anything
moved
wrong
on at
here.
any time without having a cat.
Yeah, but it pushed it made them move.
And they were
also-
so poor because of the cat that they had to live in a hovel.
Well, we've all been. The thing is, I've done all of these things. I've saved a dog, told my mum something was terrible going to happen, and borrowed £2. And then me and my sister had to move house to look after a dog.
Hang on, you saved a dog, borrowed £2.
Yes.
And then what?
Well, told my mum it was going to be.
Dead?
Yeah, something wasn't very nice was going to happen to it. It was going to have a very
Unless
short
she coughed
visit.
up.
Unless
So
Isn't
we
that
saved
ransom?
it. Yes.
If you don't give me money, this dog is going to...
So what I'm saying is that I'm in tune with Betty. When you really want something so badly,
Bobby's life
you
of
find a
crime.
way.
If your
So-
pet's gone missing, Bobby's got it.
Funny enough, we found a cat the other day. It's now at home. It's all right. What I was going to say is this has got a long story.
But if
and
you want
off
your cat
the point- it's gone. It's home. It's all
If you
right
want
now.
your cat back.
Betty, you're forgiven. I can't see a problem, any problem here at all.
Okay, Brother Matthew.
Yes, two schools of thought here. One is that, does it really matter who brought the cat, where the cat came from, whether it did wander in after a storm, or, whether someone lied and bought it from a pet store? There is another school of thought, though, that says £1,000. Are you sick? Do you know what we could buy 200 cats for £1,000 and was what on a leg? And I have to say, I'd probably be in the latter camp there.
The needle camp.
Yeah, the needle camp. Full square behind the dad. Heartless and morals of a sewer rat, I know, but there you go. So I am not going to forgive because I am definitely in the dad camp.
BBC Radio 2.
Father Simon and the Ever Forgiving Collective, I wish to seek absolution for an event that occurred in the home counties about 20 years ago. My husband worked for a large London-based company and had a kindly boss who had invited us several times to a family barbecue at his place. We'd always politely declined as we had 3 small children, and as I had given up work, we were also completely skint, barely able to afford a bottle of cheapo plonk, never mind a bottle of something you could actually bring along as requested on the invite. It said, PBAB, please bring a bottle. Anyway, having 10-month-old twins, we were also completely shattered. And, of course, I had absolutely nothing suitable to wear to a society barbecue. Whoever knew there was such a thing anyway? However, about the 5th invite along and being assured that it would be lovely to see your children, we apprehensively accepted. Perhaps I should explain our apprehension. You see, this lovely boss lived in somewhat palatial surroundings. about 20 miles from us, and his family were extremely well connected. Members of the Indian royal family had been present at a recent family wedding of theirs. There was an Indian royal family. Anyway, they were absolutely minted, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we arrived, as requested, at 12, making sure to park our battered people carrier well up the road and out of the way from the myriad Bentleys, Porsches and Maseratis. It's like popping around to your place, Nigel.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Here we made our first mistake. At posh barbecues, although it may say arrive at 12 on the invitation, what they really mean is arrive at 2. Fortunately, our twins became the centre of attention, and the garden had a swing and a huge adventure playground, which pleased our 4-year-old daughter greatly. She's not called greatly, it just, she was very happy. However, it soon became obvious that food was not going to be available for quite some time, not least because the men of the house were busying themselves digging a fire pit in the 2 acres of lawn. Still, there was plenty of bubbly, and as I wasn't driving, I did indulge in the odd glass or two. I noticed a few odd glances in my direction, but I put that down to my common face. And my common shoes. Or some such. The conversation became increasingly awkward as we were asked by several well-meaning guests whether we'd put the boys' names down for Eton or Harrow, because it was apparently vital to register them before birth, never mind 10 months afterwards. Why are you rolling your eyes there,
No reason at all.
I wasn't going to be defeated and said that I had their name down for, let's call it, the Bash Street Academy. It's very highly regarded, you know. You haven't heard of it? Oh, right. It was, of course, the local state primary. But thankfully, this was pre-internet, so no chance of being Googled or rumbled, as we used to say. It was becoming increasingly clear that although very polite and welcoming to us, we had absolutely nothing in common with anyone else at this barbecue. After 2 hours, my daughter tugged at my arm, needing the toilet, and so I inquired of our gracious host where I might find the lavatory, because I knew better than to actually ask for a toilet. Lavatory was far better. She issued directions, and after 5 minutes, I found said lavatory, all marble and gold plate fittings, with the biggest mirror I've ever seen. And here I discovered the error which leads to my request for forgiveness. You see, Father Simon, regrettably, I decided to do a wardrobe inspection. As I said, I'd noticed a few people staring rather awkwardly at me on occasions. Why have you got your head in your hands, Bobby and Matt? I was wearing an old favourite summer dress. So old, in fact, that it had completely worn through in one vital area, namely over my left nipple. It turned out that it wasn't my common face or my common shoes that they were staring at, but another common part of my anatomy. But common to all, let's be honest.
Yeah, we've all got them.
Fortuitously, it was a pattern dress, and a slight adjustment of undergarment and dress meant that a white rosebud-shaped hole camouflaged the missing fabric, provided I kept absolutely still, and kept a wine glass firmly clasped over my bosom. Grabbing my husband, I hissed into his ear, "We're going now." Oh, sorry, it was a little bit Ray. "We're going now." Hastily explaining to the host that my daughter felt sick. "I don't feel sick," she says unhelpfully.
Yes.
So we had to leave despite her loud protestations. "But Mummy, I'm hungry, not sick," she says. A look of total bewilderment over my husband's face. Anyway, I need forgiveness, obviously, not from the host, as they had, let's face it, 2 hours of free entertainment cooing over our twins, and not from my husband, although he never got another invite and left the company a few months later, but from my daughter for being less than truthful about her forthcoming education and denying her the chance for some social climbing with some very well-connected people. Well, it's from middle wife, and I suspect that there'll be a few people who've had similar kind of, you think you're fine, you've been at a social event, an evening do, maybe a dinner, and then you check yourself in the mirror, and then you realize, oh, right, okay, that's why people were staring at me, because I hadn't done all the checking that I needed to. Sister Bobby, what do you think about that?
It's a wonder you didn't feel a chill, but there you go.
That's a good point.
It's a shame because there are so many things that you could have done. Like, does anyone have a spare cardigan because it's a little bit chilly outside? Anything, just so you could have stayed at the party. Because I often find with parties where you feel you don't fit in, is actually no one really fits in, and everyone really feels the same, regardless of what car they
Wise
arrived in.
words, Bobby.
Just go anyway, because actually, it's just be proud of who you are, and that's a shame because you missed out on a really good barbecue. It seems. I can forgive you because I have been there so many times and felt exactly exactly the same and arrived inappropriately dressed at many occasions. So, of course, you're forgiven.
I'm not sure I could be bothered with a barbecue. We have to dig a pit, Nigel. I mean,
Well,
you know,
and it takes a long time to get a fire pit going, so obviously it was going to be late as well.
With a barbecue on wheels.
Fire pit, yeah, that could go for some
gas,
weeks.
I don't know.
Obviously a good sense of humour, middle wife as well, calling herself middle wife. What I can't understand is why her husband might not have noticed about
Good point.
the pop-up.
I think they were just very. I think they were very tired.
But they were exhausted.
Yes.
And I think I would absolutely forgive you, but the fact that you didn't stay and confront them, and I think you could have really powered your way through, obviously with a few more bottles of something on board. But so on this occasion, remarkably, middle wife, I'm not going to forgive you because I'd like you to stay round and just really fought your corner because you do sound like an interesting character.
Okay, so it's nicely poised. What do you think?
Well, Nigel's absolutely right. What on earth is the husband doing? Why isn't the husband at some point saying, right, your top, we need to either we need to go or you need to find something else to put on.
Here, wear my jacket.
Yes, indeed, quite right. And here's the other point: is that most couples, you have a code for when you get to a social event and you think, this is not going to be very good. Let's leave. And normally that code is, oh, is that my phone? Oh no, we've got to go. Sorry, bye. And
they didn't have phones.
Yeah, well, whatever. Oh look, I've just forgotten. I need to do something else and be somewhere else. Not here at a party where you have to dig a pit to have a barbecue. That would have been sign number 1 that I am leaving now. Is man coming out and saying I'm going to dig a pit? No, you're not. I'm off.
You might have arranged.
Bye.
You might have arranged for the other to happen just so you could both
Quite
go.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
all
get
right.
out of here.
Well, they were this week's confessions. Let us know your shadowy secret, please. Perhaps inspired by one of those. confessions@bbc.co.uk. And if you missed any of the programmes this week, thanks for your lack of loyalty. You can listen back online or download to your smartphone, tablet, whatever you've got, via the BBC iPlayer radio app. Monday, we had a book club day, and that was Ilan Mastai's time-travelling mind twister called All Our Wrong Todays, which is very good. Caitlin Moran came in on Tuesday talking about her vision for the world and also about bringing back public drinking fountains. Country star Darius Rucker swung by on Wednesday to talk about Country to Country Festival at the weekend and his love for EastEnders and pies, all of which is a little odd. Foodie Thursday, Nigel was in whipping up an alternative cottage pie with venison. A standard cottage pie would have been fine, but anyway, all alternative, very, very edgy. Very Six music. And if you made it to the end of last week's podcast, I asked you to tweet petulant prancing peacocks, which you all did. Particular thanks to Rebecca, Sam, Michelle, Graham and many more who took the time, because I still never quite believe that anyone staggers on to the bitter end of a particular podcast. You've usually given up halfway through. Anyway, if you want to prove that you have made it here, this week's secret code phrase is, do you fancy an impromptu student fitness session? ? Full stop. Thanks for listening.